Hey everybody, it's me, Swordboard again. Yes, you've heard the name many times. I was 7 or 6 years old when I first found this movie. And I knew the second I saw it, the title looked good, the picture looked amazing. I knew right off the bat, straight off the dome, that this movie was going to be amazing. And the movie I'm talking about today is Corpse Bride. What I have to say about it? It's a masterpiece. I'm not joking. It's actually amazing. This movie released in 2005, and I was 7 when I watched it, or maybe 6. When I first watched it, I didn't really think of it, so I was like, this is a little boring, and I turned it off. But as I got older and older and older, I started to realize that this movie is a gem. It's peak cinema. So, without further ado, let's get right off the dome and see if this movie is truly a masterpiece. We start off with a dude named Victor Van Dort who is going through the trouble of marriage. And he's actually getting married to a girl named Victoria Everglot. You see, back then, marriage was like, yo, you have to marry this kid. Why? Because of money. You see, Victoria's parents are basically broke. They're screwed. And Victor's parents just got into the rich world. And Victorian's parents are really good. So, yeah. But apparently back then, people don't get married because of love. They just get married because, well, the other people have money. And that's stupid. But apparently this was set in probably the 1900s. Also, fun fact, this movie was probably based on a folktale or Jewish folktale called The Finger. It's about a dude who does his vows to a corpse as a joke, but then came alive. You know the entire story. So, apparently, Victor was getting married to Victoria, and she never even knew her. She doesn't even know her. He literally doesn't even know her. And Victoria is a little worried that they won't like each other. But it turns out that they end up following each other quite quickly. Some might say love at first sight. So then we go into the wedding rehearsal. Yes, this is a wedding rehearsal. And Victor can't even remember his lines. He just literally can't even remember his lines. But then out of nowhere, this dude, the butler dude of the Everglots, introduces a guy named Lord Barkis Bittern. I don't know what kind of last name is that, but okay. So it comes up all sassy, and then he just goes along. Then the priest dude, Pastor Goswell, is like, yo, Victor can't even remember his lines. We're going to have to leave him. And he's like, don't come back until you figure out your lines, dude. So then he goes out into the woods to practice his vows. Little reference there, guys. Little reference to The Nightmare Before Christmas. If you haven't seen it, it's a really good movie. Apparently, Jack went there to find the doors, and Victor went into the woods to practice his vows. And then he lands there perfectly and puts a ring on what he thought was a twig, but happened to be the Corpse Bride. And oh my goodness, her entrance, quite terrifying. If that was me, I would literally run like the Flash and get a shotgun and basically shoot her. But I cannot do that. It is a movie. And I might get hated for that. So then she starts chasing them. And literally, like, it's the whole thing where, like, Victor can't even get away from her. I know he's supposed to be a socially awkward young guy. Because, like, he, is clumsy, basically. He's just clumsy at everything. He's basically clumsy, but is a guy. And he is also voiced by Johnny Depp. And Helena Bonham Carter does the Corpse Bride. So then the Corpse Bride ends up taking him to the living world. And this is where we see a lot of the dead people. Some of them got stabbed. Some of them had a cannon go through their chest. Some of them were poisoned. Some of them were this and that. Most of the time, they're mostly skeletons, but who cares? So then we meet this dude named Bone Jangles, who's played by Danny Elfman. And then he sings the backstory of the Corpse Bride, who turns out her name is Emily, and she was murdered. Oh dear, that's tragic. So then Victor runs away from her. Then meanwhile, basically they're mourning over the loss of Victor. Then Barkis comes up with the town crier, and he's like, yo, your son was seen with another woman, and they don't know who this woman is. And then the Van Dort woman was like, he doesn't even know anyone. So then So then Emily and Victor have this whole bonding relationship. I mean, yeah, it's true. He's dead and she's alive. They can't both be together. But then they decided to go up to the living world to see Victor's parents. And the only way they could do that is ask Elder Gutnet. And so it was like, yo, Elder Gutnet, could you transport us to the living world? How? With the egg of a crow. And basically he teleports them and then, well, like Victor lies to Emily, and then he just goes on his merry way. He finds Victoria, and as they were about to make out, he sees Emily. And when she stares at him and Victoria stares, he's like, ah, shit, here we go again. Because he's thinking, oh, shoot, they're going to have a fight. But then, it looks like Emily was pissed off. It takes him to the underworld. And she's like, she literally says, he literally lied to her. Which I get why, but then he does the whole thing. Oh, this can't work out. You're dead. I'm alive. It just can't work out. Which is true and coolish. But then she's like, oh, I can't be killed. If you cut me with a knife, if I touch a burning candle, I can't feel any pain. Which, okay. So then Victoria tries to tell her mom, yo, Victor was seen with a dead woman. She doesn't believe her and calls her crazy. Great parenting, by the way. She locks her, and then she goes to Pastor Goswell's, and he's like the only guy who knows about the grave. Is like, yo, can the living marry the dead? But then the only thing that he does is just take her back to her house, which calling her crazy. Then they lock her again the second time. Then Barkis insists that he marry Victoria. And then Victoria finds about it, and she's stunned. She's shocked. She's traumatized. She doesn't have a choice. So then after that, Victor tries to tell Emily. She's like, yo, I'm sorry that I did this to you. It's just that things haven't been going well according to plan. Then they actually do have something in common. They play the piano, which Victor does himself. I forgot to mention that. Then they actually found out that Victoria got married. Who? To Bacchus. So then he feels a little bad, and then Elder Gutnek says, yo, in order for you and Victor to get married, he's asked to drink the wine of ages. And he's like, screw it, I'm doing it. Let's do this, boy. So then they go to the land of the living, and they're like practicing their vows. Then Emily sees Victoria in the background. She's like, yo, what the hell am I doing? This is a kid that I'm messing with. So she's like, yo, I love you, but you're not mine. And it turns out that Victoria was the one that Victor wanted all along. But then Bacchus comes out and is like, yo, that's mine. And then we found out that Bacchus was Jack the Ripper. I just say that because he murdered Emily, I think. And then Victor and Bacchus do that whole sword fight thing. I already knew that was gonna be like epic. And then Bacchus gets what he deserved. And this is the thing that Elder Garnack says. It's like, we are amongst the living. Never trust the living. Little quote from Beetlejuice. Bacchus gets what he deserves. Then the dead does something to him. Who knows? Who knows? And then Victor gets with Victoria, and Emily is set free. And that was Corpse Bride. What an amazing movie. This movie was straight good. If you guys want me to do another Tim Burton movie, let me know down in the comments. Or if there's no comments. Anyways, subscribe. Peace.